This is the Brewers POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Milwaukee Brewers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, heartbreaking fashion, but the Milwaukee Brewers' incredible 15-game win streak is officially over, ending, as I mentioned, in very, very heartbreaking fashion. A William Contreras clutch, 1-out, 2-run home run in the top of the ninth gave the Milwaukee Brewers the lead, but that would be it. The Reds answering right back in the ninth and walk it off as the Brewers fall to 78-45 on the season with the loss to the Reds. This one by a final of 3-2. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Locked On Brewers POSTCAST. My name is Brandon Stein. You can follow me on X, formerly Twitter, at Brandon_Stein, and follow all of my work over at WTMJ.com, where we cover all of our Wisconsin sports teams. As always, Locked On Brewers is free and available wherever you guys get audio podcasts. Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get audio podcasts, you can get this very program as well. Oh, as well as over on YouTube, where we are live right now talking about a 3-2 Brewers loss, their first one in the month of August. Go to the search bar, type in Locked On Brewers, hit that subscribe button for me if you're on the live feed right now. Hit that thumbs up button. If you're watching this video, hit that thumbs up button and make sure you hit that bell, get notified when we go live. And we're live now talking about a 3-2 Brewers loss, the 14-game win streak coming to an end. And it was remarkable for this team. So we'll talk about the win streak, what's next for this team, as well as your thoughts, your reactions on the program as the Brewers, as I've mentioned, fall to the Reds 3-2, snapping their 14-game win streak. We'll begin with the scoring summary today, brought to you by Prize Picks and by FanDuel. And not a lot of scoring in this one, as the Brewers do lose at 3-2, and it was a pitcher's duel. Andrew Abbott and Jose Quintana for the Brewers, who got the start. Both of those guys absolutely fantastic this afternoon out there in Cincinnati. No scoring up until the 7th inning, and it took a Jose Trevino sacrifice fly for the Cincinnati Reds to get on the board there in the 7th. And then that would take us to the 9th inning, and with 1 out, William Contreras, as you heard me mention it, that win streak looked like it could have kept going with the William Contreras home run to left center field, 405 feet in the top half of the 9th with 1 out, gave Milwaukee the 2-1 lead. And then that would take us to the bottom of the 9th. And this is going to be my turning point in this game. And it's not necessarily where the game was won or lost, but it was the decision that was made by manager Pat Murphy in a 3-2 loss, resulting in the Brewers' 14-game win streak coming to an end.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
So I thought this part in the game was interesting because it felt like Tobias Myers was kind of cruising along, and it felt like it was the Bryce Terrain error in the bottom half of the 9th, the first ground ball that approached him in the inning. It should have been an out. Tobias Myers would have ideally have had 2 quick outs in that inning, but Pat Murphy pulled Tobias Myers. Now, Pat Murphy has done a lot of good over the last 2 years, year and a half or so, certainly over this 14-game win streak, certainly over the last 3 months or so for this team. But I felt like I would have left Tobias Myers there in the 9th inning. I mean, Tobias Myers has been really good as of late. Now, you talk about today, didn't give up anything this afternoon against the Reds. His last appearance on August 13th, didn't give up a run in 2 innings pitched. His last game where he gave up anything was back on August 9th. There was a couple of runs against the Mets. The Brewers still won that game. But even if you go back to the end of July, Tobias Myers has been pretty good. Has it been shaky at times? Certainly. But I think in this moment of the game, I would have, if you're asking me now, and I know hindsight is always 20/20, but if you're asking me now, I would have preferred Tobias over Grant Anderson, who eventually gave up the game-winning run, the tying run as well in the 9th inning. It was Trevino single to right center. That would plate a run. That would make it 2-2. And then Ke'Bryan Hayes, not Ke'Bryan Hayes. I have the 2 Hayes mixed up here. Austin Hayes for Cincinnati would walk it off with a base hit past Caleb Durbin at third base, and the Reds would hold on and crawl back in this one and fight back and get the 3-2 win over the Brewers, snapping their 14-game win streak, coming to an end in a big series against the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field coming up. But that was my turning point in the game. And again, I understand at the moment of this game for this team, right? You were really were battled all game long against Andrew Abbott and the Reds pitching. But you're able to crawl back in that 9th inning, get the home run for William Contreras, who again was as clutch gets, and has been just swinging such a great bat over the course of the last month plus now, has Wild Bill. But I thought taking out Tobias Myers, inserting Grant Anderson, if you're looking back at it, maybe there's a reason and a method to what Murphy is going to do and what he did. And obviously maybe he might lean on Tobias Myers in that Cubs series. But I thought that was my turning point, because I thought that there was a better opportunity personally for Tobias Myers to get out of that 9th inning as opposed to Grant Anderson. So that's a turning point. A 3-2 Brewers loss. Guys, it is August 17th, and it's the first loss that we're talking about in the month of August, right? Their last loss coming against a team they'll see starting on Monday against the Chicago Cubs. So it's been a while since the Brewers have lost. So it's almost you're kind of struggling a little bit, kind of thinking how to talk through this this loss, because we just haven't prepared for a loss. And I'll be quite honest with you, even when the Brewers took the lead 2-1 in the 9th inning off of that William Contreras home run to left field, I prepared this show for a win. I thought this was going to be a win for our Brew Crew, but it certainly they came up just short today, falling to the Reds. The good news against the loss, though, you do reserve some of those arms in the bullpen, and I know they used them last night as well. But now you have them going forward in that series, that 5-game series in Chicago coming up tomorrow, starting tomorrow. But you also take the series against the Cincinnati Reds, who are fighting for a playoff spot. They're fighting for a wild card spot, fighting with the Mets, fighting with the Cubs. So you take the series, you win 2 out of 3. Again, we all wanted the win streak to keep going. We all wanted to keep the good times flowing. They're still flowing. This team is still the best in baseball, 78-45 after today's loss in Cincinnati. But you do secure the series win against the Reds, and you'll see them towards the end of the year, regular season, that is, at American Family Field. So another opportunity to see this team down the road, which will likely, be determined where their playoff seeding is as well. And then that goes for the Brewers as well. 3-2 loss for Milwaukee today, snapping that 14-game win streak. As we have mentioned, one day after setting the franchise record, the Brewers find themselves on the losing side of things. We'll hear from you, your thoughts, your reactions coming up, as well as the Locked On Brewers postcast player of the game. Today's Locked On Brewers postcast is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up, and college football isn't too far behind. And whether you got your eye on a big name quarterback or breakout running backs, Prize Picks makes it easy for you to get in the game. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get right on your picks, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, run your game. Today's Locked On Brewers postcast also brought to you by our wonderful partners over at FanDuel. And coming up, August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for those bold predictions and those preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before Week 1 even kicks off, right now is your moment. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. My pick right now before the season begins, the Green Bay Packers will win the NFC North division, because Futures Day is only one day and one day only. FanDuel, fuel your game. A 3-2 loss for our Milwaukee Brewers in Cincinnati in walk-off fashion. Austin Hayes sending the Brewers home losers the first time in the month of August. Their last loss coming back on July 30th against the Chicago Cubs. We mentioned it. It was a roller coaster type game. I mean, it certainly It was really low, right? Not a whole lot of offense for the Brewers, just 5 hits over 9 innings for Milwaukee, which included a William Contreras go-ahead home run in the 9th inning. So you were kind of, not feeling great going in late into that game. Andrew Abbott having a fantastic performance. Then you get really high because of the 2-run home run from Wild Bill, and you're like, holy cow, we're going to do this. I cannot believe this. I'm running out of words to describe this team. And then the bottom of the 9th, Grant Anderson comes in place of Tobias Myers, gives up a single. The game is tied. Then you go to the top of the 10th. You're like, okay, another chance, another opportunity. Well, the Brewers can't get anything in the top of the 10th. A bunt from Blake Perkins throws out Andrew Vaughn, who was trying to advance from second to third base. They would get out of that 10th without getting a run scored. The Brewers, that is, and then the Reds would do what they did in the bottom half of the 9th inning. And Austin Hayes, walk-off single, sends home the Brewers losers for the first time in the month of August, 78-45 on the season. We talked about the player of the game. I had it down to be William Contreras, but unfortunately, not going to get the nod in a 3-2 Brewers loss.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Jose Trevino today for me gets the nod for player of the game in a 3-2 Brewers loss. Jose Trevino, the starting catcher for the Reds, getting the honors today, and really because he was 2/3 of the Reds scoring offense this afternoon at Great American Ballpark. He had the sac fly in the 7th inning that was almost looked like it could have been either off the top of the wall, home run, or at least a double, extra bases. But Brandon Lockridge with the leaping catch, that would be one of the runs that the Reds would score. The other run that he would play in would be in the 9th inning for Jose Trevino. That would tie the game up. The Brewers had an opportunity to kind of get out of that inning, needed some luck, just kind of ran out of things. Trevino driving in 2 of the 3 runs that the Reds would score, and the second one that he drove in would eventually get the game to extra innings. So unfortunately, he's going to get the player of the game. I had Wild Bill down, guys. I'm looking at it. I had him written down to be player of the game. I thought they could hold on in the 9th inning, but their luck just simply ran out. So he does get an honorable mention. Also, I'd kind of be remiss to not bring this up and talk about this. The starting pitching for both teams today could really easily be the Locked On Brewers postcast player of the day. Let's start with the away team, the Milwaukee Brewers. Jose Quintana, 98 pitches thrown this afternoon against the Reds at Great American Ballpark. 6 1/3 innings pitched, just 5 hits and just 1 run crossing the plate against Jose Quintana, who continues to just be a steady guy for this rotation, for this team. Again, a bullpen that needed some innings eaten up. That's exactly what Jose Quintana did this afternoon. No decision, obviously, for Jose Quintana. Grant Anderson would take the loss this afternoon, but a great performance, I thought, from Jose Quintana on the mound. And then on the other side, Andrew Abbott really had the Brewers' bats buckled really all game long until he left. The Brewers couldn't score. 92 pitches for Abbott thrown, 7 scoreless innings, including 7 strikeouts. So a great performance, a pitcher's duel for most of this game up until that 7th inning, really. And it was a sacrifice fly that scored that run. So a great performance from both of the starting pitchers today, Andrew Abbott as well as Jose Quintana. But the Brewers taking the loss 3-2 in this one. Your thoughts, your reactions, everything coming up on the program. Let's begin with Timmer Travels. The Contreras homer got my hopes up too much. You and me both. I prepared for this one as if the Brewers had it in the bag. I was getting ready to have another celebration for the 15th one in a row. And I think I opened the show talking about the Brewers' 15-game win streak. I see, that's where my mind was, guys. That's where I was, because I thought the Brewers had this in the bag, but unfortunately they do lose. Isaiah over on YouTube, I'm living and dying with Myers in that spot 10 out of 10 times. Again, if you're going to tell me Tobias Myers, who was a starter in the playoffs less than a calendar year ago, and nothing against Grant Anderson, but if you're going to tell me between those two players and there was nobody else in the bullpen, I would have lived, and I agree with you, Isaiah, I would have lived with Tobias Myers in the bottom half of the 9th inning. Maybe he gets out of that jam. Maybe he doesn't. I still would have rather have seen Tobias see that through, especially because Bryce Terrain makes that play at shortstop probably 9 out of 10 times. The 10th time would be today that he didn't make it. Then you get that fly out to left field. You have 2 quick outs in the bottom half of the 9th inning, and who knows what would have happened after that. But I thought Tobias Myers has looked fantastic. I mentioned it. Last time he gave up runs, August 9th, was a couple of runs against the Mets, but he has been lights out. His last 3 innings appearances in the month of July, the 25th, was clean. His last, today was clean for the most part. So I would have rolled as well with Tobias there in the bottom half of the 9th inning. Daniel over on YouTube, I understand Murphy needed to keep the bullpen fresh, but if that's the case, just leave in Myers, win or lose. That would make the most sense. Yeah, I don't know what the bigger plan is for Tobias Myers, right? Because the Brewers bullpen, might need 5 games in 4 days, 2 of them on Monday night. You want to plan ahead and see what happens with the bullpen that's been kind of used a lot, right? You saw Nick Mears, Abner Uribe, Trevor McGill. So, I don't know going into that series against the Cubs where strength-wise, where they're going to stand as far as, with this bullpen, and if they have a bigger plan for Tobias. I believe game 2, don't quote me, is still TBA for the Brewers starting tomorrow in Chicago. So we'll see. But I think all of us are in agreeing that we would probably have left Tobias Myers in there. Sean over on YouTube, hard to sweep a team that's equally as competitive, especially on the road. Can't be upset with the loss. Don't forget, there's still 7.5 games up in the race for the number 1 seed in the National League. It is really hard to continue to win games in the way that the Brewers have won games. And I'm not saying that it's not something that can be sustained, but everything has seemingly fallen in place for this team. And to argue my own point, like they've created a lot of that, right? They create a lot of that, get on base, create havoc and pressure on opposing pitches, on opposing defenses and on opposing managers, what this team has done. But you have to appreciate winning 14 in a row, and you have to appreciate the manner in which they did it, which was every single way, right? Starting pitching, bullpen, offense, defense, like managerial decisions, like they've won it in every single way. So I can't be too upset about where this team, despite the loss, obviously it's frustrating. It's not good to lose. And we don't, again, when you take the lead in the 9th inning, you're feeling good, especially how we have felt over the last almost month or so with this team, the way that they have played. You expected them to walk out with a win against the Reds, but unfortunately, Cincinnati having different thoughts there. Woodworking outdoorsman, part of our everydayers. Tough spot for Murphy with the bullpen. The game didn't mean anything other than keeping the streak alive. Doubleheader tomorrow against the Cubs means more. Start another streak tomorrow. Ideally, that's what you want to do, especially against a team that's below you in the standings. Now, I know they're separated by more games than I think any of us would have penciled in at this part of the year, especially where the Cubs were, middle of really the beginning of June, the middle of June, beginning of July. But certainly the Brewers have done their part in the National League Central Division. But you're right. Like Pat Murphy, again, is never going to look at the smaller picture, right? He's always going to look at the bigger picture. We saw it when this team was losing a bunch of games in the beginning of the year. We heard it when he was on the Brewers were on an 11-game win streak in July. Like, never too high, never too low, always live within the day, within the moment. And that's what he's going to do. Unfortunately, just not a whole lot of arms available today. Again, where you needed a bullpen on Saturday night as well. So, and you want to be ready for Chicago, right? Because I think that series is going to be, it's going to be big for both teams, but the Brewers have a great opportunity to put the National League Central race to bed. Now, I understand the chances of the Cubs coming back are probably, still slim, but you win 3 or 4 of those games in Wrigley. I think that pretty much kind of puts a bow on the National League Central. And obviously that might be what the Brewers have in mind as well. Everydayer Kep over on YouTube. Even though Anderson did not pitch well, that error by Terrain definitely sealed it. More proof of margin that the air is so tight, especially with the offense when they can't get going. What a streak, though. Yeah. And again, Terrain makes that play 9 out of 10 times. The 10th time today, he didn't make it, and that's the unfortunate reality of that performance, because you have 2 quick outs in the 9th, and I think Tobias Myers maybe stays in the game at that moment. Obviously, you're looking for some ground balls coming in with Grant Anderson, but that just not the case for the Brewers. They fall today 3-2 to the to the Cincinnati Reds. See, I'm thinking Brewers win in my head. I think I opened the show talking about a win. We still love you, Brewers, says RB over on YouTube. Just dust yourselves off. You're doing great. A fantastic, a fantastic message for this team, because again, it's so easy to get caught up in today's game, in today's results, in a loss, a 3-2 loss. You won 14 in a row. Your last loss came in July. Guys, it is August 17th. It has been absolutely fantastic for what this team has had to do over that course of, I don't know, what is that, almost 3 weeks. And keep in mind, Sal Frelick not healthy, didn't play today. Jackson Chourio not playing, hasn't played at all during this win streak. So again, you're doing it with different players. Blake Perkins back from the bereavement list today, but you're doing it without Isaac Collins, who's been red hot, over the last month plus. So you're doing it in different ways, and it is what it is, but it definitely is unfortunate. And today, I think what makes today unfortunate was that when you took the lead in the 9th, what we've seen over the last 14 games, you're like, there's no way they're losing. And unfortunately, that's what happened. Todd over on YouTube, sad to see the streak end like that, but with a doubleheader tomorrow against the Cubs, I respect Murph playing the long game. Yeah, and again, you got to look at the bigger picture, and that's kind of what Murph does. He's not going to live, within trying to, throw every arm available to win a game on August 17th and put these guys at injury risk down the road, especially when you have 5 games in 4 days. But everything that this Brewers team that they have worked for over the last 2-3 months now is right in front of them, right? The number 1 seed in all of baseball right now. They're still the best team in all of baseball. The number 1 seed in the National League race for the best team, number 1 seed. They're still in position for that. The National League Central against the Chicago Cubs, they're still on pace for that as well. So everything is still in front of this team. It's a tough way to lose, because the William Contreras home run had everybody ready to run through a brick wall, or maybe you did, but that's I think the most frustrating thing about it. A couple more of your comments before we get things wrapped up on a 3-2 Brewers loss. Glory Days Sports Consultating. Reds are very good, playoff caliber team. You can't start another win streak without a loss. In reality, stop being delusional. Brewers do not have a dominant bullpen. It's their weakness. I don't know if I really agree with that. And I think the bullpen is going to develop. I don't think they're done, moving things around in this bullpen. We've seen Tobias Myers' role change this year. Could we see Chad Patrick maybe get, because they're going to be able to extend to that 27th player for a doubleheader tomorrow for that middle relief? Look, Trevor McGill is as good as it gets. Abner Uribe leads the league and holds. Like, your back end of the bullpen's great. Could you have a question mark in the middle relief area? Sure, but Nick Mears has been fantastic. Jared Kaning's still been really good. This bullpen is a lot better than a lot of other teams' bullpens. Now, did they go out and make big moves at the trade deadline for a guy like Mason Miller or Ryan Helsley? No, but if you ask Mets fans right now, they don't want Ryan Helsley on their team after what he's done since the trade deadline. So I think the Brewers are still in a good shape as far as bullpen. So I don't think I necessarily agree with that Glory Days, but I do think that it's still if the bullpen, to your point, is the weakest part of the team, this team's going to the World Series. D-Dubs over on YouTube. Brewers have been jumping on teams' mistakes during this winning streak, but today the Reds played clean ball and didn't give that opportunity. Yeah, it's a good team, right? They've been playing good baseball. The Brewers won 2 out of 3. Again, don't have anybody up to full strength, for this team. So I thought that that it was, despite it being a frustrating loss, today the Reds played equally good baseball, and I think that's all you can do is tip your cap to that team. They took advantage of mistakes. The Brewers lost today in the way that the Brewers have won over the last 2-3 weeks. I mean, that's just kind of what they've done. So again, frustrating. Certainly you thought, with that William Contreras home run, that was it. But unfortunately, the Brewers do take the loss. They're first in the month of August. They're first since July 30th to the Cubs, who they will see tomorrow. As Craig over on YouTube, what's the pitching rotation for the Cubs series? This is according to Adam McCalvey. Game 1 is going to be Freddie Peralta. Game 2 is still not determined. TBA for Game 2. Game 3, Brandon Woodruff. Game 4, Jacob Mizorowski. And Game 5, Quinn Priester. So exactly what you want against the Chicago Cubs is exactly what you're going to get if you're a Brewers fan. Freddie Peralta, Woodruff, Mizorowski, Priester. We are not sure of Game 2 yet. Maybe Murphy's talking about it after this game. We'll certainly find out that answer rather quickly, as the Brewers will begin 5 games in Wrigley tomorrow, and you and I will be chatting about hopefully more wins to come for this team. Despite a 3-2 loss, the Brewers still holding the best record in baseball and in the National League Central. My thanks to each and every one of you for always tuning in. Thank you for always making Locked On Brewers part of your day each and every day. Remember, we are free and available wherever you guys get audio podcasts. Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, a bunch of terrific apps. Wherever you get podcasts, you can get this program, again, free and available. Also over on YouTube, just go to that search bar, type in Locked On Brewers, hit that thumbs up button for me, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, get notified when we go live, and we will go live once again tomorrow night talking about the 2 games at Wrigley Field as it's the Brewers versus the Cubs. As always, win, lose, or draw. It's a little tougher, guys, when it's the first loss in the month of August, but win, lose, or draw, it is always, always, always go Brewers. We'll talk to you guys again tomorrow, and as always, go Brewers.